everyone, this is OCD Live. I'm Ali Grayman. Let's get to some questions. Okay, so the first question I have is the person is asking that they struggle going back over how the situation started. So, for example, saying, if I had that thought that led to this behavior, that led to how, and going back like that. And yes, you're right, it is reassurance. And the more you do it, it's like a compulsion. The more you do it, the more you will feel the need to do it, the more you will feel the need. Well, maybe you overlooked something, maybe you didn't solve something. So the trick is just to stopping the behavior as much as possible. So you get that urge to go back and figure it out and remember, you're refusing to do it. You're going to get the urge 5 minutes later, you're going to refuse it again. And as you continually refuse it, the brain will see that you're not paying attention to it. That must mean that it's not important, and it will stop sending you that request basically to think about it. So that's kind of how you get over it, because yeah, the more you do it, the more you will feel like doing it, and it can also add other rituals. So you want to make sure that you're stopping this type of behavior, because it will not lead anywhere good, and it's just going to continue to make the disorder overall worse. Okay, so the next question I have is struggling about a false memory from a long time ago, thinking that the person could have possibly harmed somebody. And the thing, first of all, this is a very common OCD thought, believe it or not. And with that, if you really did harm somebody, you would not question as a what if. Think about a situation that happened to you in the past. Not like they had nothing to do with this, but just any situation that was meaningful to you. You know whether it happened or not. If something really bad happened, it would come back and present itself in some way. Things just don't magically go away like this, right? So you have to understand that the fact that, especially that you're doubting it, you would never doubt it as a false memory OCD if it was a real event. Just like if you think about other situations that happened to you in the past, you don't question them as possibly being OCD. That doesn't even cross your mind. You know that they're real, and then you just, you react to them accordingly, but you always know that they're real. With this one, you're questioning it, and the questioning itself tells you that it's OCD. I don't want to give you too much reassurance, because reassurance is not healthy, but at the same time, you have to see the logic and then choose to move on. And just like I said in the previous question, the thought can come into your mind a million times, and a million times you have to say, I'm not doing it, I'm not thinking about this anymore, I'm moving on. And the brain will eventually get it and stop harassing you with it. So the next question I have is the person is asking that if they take some time for themselves and not donate that time or energy or whatever to others, they feel like they're being selfish. And that thought is really bothering them. Basically, everything they do, they're worried if they're being selfish or not. So again, with this thing, it's a thought that went way overboard and turned into an OCD thought. We all get these things from time to time where we think, well, am I, doing too much for myself? And, it's with OCD, all these things are little thoughts that every person can get. But with OCD, it just takes it to a whole other level. Just like, for example, with religious OCD, right? People are worried that they will not go to heaven, or whatever the situation may be. Or with cheating OCD, they're worried that their partner is cheating. These are kind of natural thoughts that every person, I think, gets from time to time. But a person with OCD starts to think about it so much, and the brain starts to view it so real, that it's hard to get out of that. And what you have to say is, what you're doing wrong here is you're trying to look for the truth behind, like how you're saying, you're looking for the truth behind the statement, and you're trying to figure it out. And the more figuring out you do, the deeper into the problem you get. And then from there, you stop seeing it for what it is, and you start to really see it in this kind of a weird perception, because you're too deeply involved in something that's nothing. So it's very important to start unplugging from this, basically, emotionally detaching from the situation. As you emotionally detach, you will see that there's nothing there. But before you see it, you have to almost, like what I call, like if you watch my other videos, what I call the leap of faith, meaning that you have to say, I'm choosing not to believe this, I'm choosing to move on. And as you choose to move on, you will see that you chose the right thing, because the emotions are not going to be there pulling you back. Because like, as you guys know, I talk to a lot of people, and almost with every person, the thing that stops them is the person says, I'm trying, I'm doing, but I feel bad, I feel guilty, I feel like I'm doing the wrong thing, I feel like, this will come and bite me later. So, it's you have to do the leap of faith now and say, okay, if it comes to me later, then I'll deal with it later. But right now, it's OCD. I'm choosing to believe that it's OCD. I don't need proof. I don't need to solve it. I'm moving on. And as you do this, you will see that you were right all along. But in the beginning, especially first week, it's very difficult because your brain is already really focused on paying attention to this thought, and you're basically telling it the opposite of what it's used to doing. And it thinks what you're going to be doing is unsafe. It's not like it thinks, but it's a mechanism, right? So it starts to do those things, and but it feels like it's unsafe, so it's going to be sending you the thought again and again and again in the beginning. But as you show your mind that, look, I'm still not paying attention, yet still alive, nothing's wrong, it starts to say, okay, well, and it starts to calm down and send you less anxiety, and that's how you slowly recover. And this is another big point that I have to get across to people, is that in the beginning you can't expect huge results right away. So if you said to your mind, this thought, whatever it is very important, and then all of a sudden, for however long you've been doing it, for a week, 2 weeks, a month, years, if you've been doing that, and then all of a sudden you say, you know what, it's not important, don't expect to feel better in the first day or two. Because your mind is very much has been set for a long period of time to think that this thought is important. So you have to walk the walk a few times before your mind says, okay, well, this person is continuously not paying attention, nothing bad is happening, I'm going to move on. But don't expect, okay, I've disregarded, why isn't my anxiety going down? Because that it just doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that quick, and you can get discouraged and feel like you just can't recover. And a lot of people get into that state. You have to keep pushing through, and usually within a week to 2 weeks of continuously seriously working on it, a person will see a difference. If they're doing it kind of so-so, it will take longer. So it's, again, you have to be focused and always check where your attention is. If your attention is, for example, in this person's situation, if the attention is on this thought of, am I being selfish, no matter what kind of background story it is to it, if you're, I don't know, buying something for yourself, or spending time, or not doing stuff for others in your time, doing something for yourself, whatever the situation is, if it's a thought about being selfish, that means it's OCD. Or like in the last one that I was answering, if it's a thought about what happened in the past, did it happen, did it not happen, then it's OCD. So you're not even going into a situation where you're solving the thought. You're just saying, this, I'm choosing to believe it's OCD, I'm not bringing this up again. If my mind brings it up, I'm not going to pay attention, I will move on. Okay, so the next question I have is about checking the body for like moles and things like that, making like cancer fears, things like that. This is actually also a very, very common OCD I see a lot of the time. And I think, the reason why I think OCD only falls into specific categories is because we are conditioned as people who live in society, are conditioned to believe that those are the worst possible things that could happen, or that a person can do, or whatever. And it's always in the news, it's always in the media, and we're pre-programmed almost to worry about those specific things. And there's only 10, 15 bad, worst type of things that could happen to a person. And I think those are the biggest triggers for OCD, because we see other types of OCD from time to time, but these ones are just very, very common. And what you have to do is, it's kind of difficult with the body situation, because you're always, seeing your body. But when you see something, so for example, you see a mole and you're like, oh, this looks suspicious, and I feel like I want to check it further, or whatever. It's very important for you to not fall for this urge. So using it as an exposure, you're seeing a mole, or you want to check or whatever, and you're saying, I'm not going to do that. And you will, as soon as you say that, your brain is going to say, well, if you're not going to do that, what if it turns out to be something bad or whatever? So you're going to say, I don't have any reason to believe this, I'm not going to check, or setting a boundary for yourself that I'm going to check myself once a month. I'm not going to check myself every day or 3 times a day or whatever. Do you know what I mean? Because if you cannot overcome the compulsion, or you feel like maybe it's not good to like fully stop checking, right? Because we have to keep an eye on things. You have to check within what, like, nobody's really normal, right? But within normal parameters of how other people who don't have OCD do it. So rather than going overboard saying, okay, I'm only going to do it for this amount of time and that's it, I'm not going to do it anymore. So say I'm going to only do 5 minutes over the course of for like once a month, say, for example, and that's it. And then you can say to yourself, when the new urge to do more will come in, which it will, to say, I've already done this, I'm not doing this again, I'm going to wait until next month. And then again, if it starts to say, well, this looks suspicious, well, you have to go to the doctor, you have to check that. It helps when you say, okay, well, like take somebody who doesn't have OCD. Would my friend so-and-so do this? Or would my family member go this far and go to the doctor? If they would not do it, then you shouldn't do it, because that means that it's OCD, it's not real obsession. Like, there's not real fear. It's just an OCD obsession. And you will see that as you do this, you will not feel the urge to do it as much. You will see that, okay, the anxiety is going down. I don't feel the urge to check as much. But in the beginning, I gotta be honest with you, it's going to be very hard, and the thoughts are going to be, I know they're already in your mind probably close to 24 hours a day, but they're going to get more intense, because just like I said in the other cases, that the brain is focused on reacting to it with a lot of fear. And when you're refusing, it thinks that you're putting yourself in danger. So it's been pre-programmed to think that. So for that reason, it's very important to show your mind that there is no danger by not only saying, I'm choosing to disregard the thought, but also not performing the action that it wants you to perform, such as physical checking. And then you will see that it gets lighter. It's a process, and some days you might not succeed, but you have to succeed more than you fail. So if you do 2 steps forward, so say, for example, for not even necessarily 2 days, but 2 times you really had the urge, it could be within the same hour, but 2 times you really had the urge to check, you refused, but then you checked, So it's on the 3rd time. So you took 2 steps forward and 1 step back. That's better than, no steps forward, or 1 step forward and 1 step back, and you're not going anywhere, right? So, and trying to have more successes and keeping, being accountable for it with yourself, right? So saying, okay, I've already given into this, I'm not doing this again. And it's better not to give in at all, but it's very difficult, especially in the beginning. So you have to make room that there will be those times when you don't succeed, and you have to just pick yourself up and move on as if it didn't happen. Because if you check once, it's bad, but if you check once and then feel the urge more to check again, and you check again, and you start to fall into this trap. So it's very important to say, okay, all right, I checked, that wasn't the right thing to do, but now I'm going to move on. Because then you're going to have more success than you do have of these like little failures that happen for everybody. It happened for me as well. A lot of people ask me, well, how did you recover? And the question is very simple: by doing everything wrong all the time and seeing that it didn't work, and by method of elimination, I figured something that was working. And then as other people asked me to help, it was working for them as well. And so it began, so it's just going for it. Oh, and I missed the question here. So the question is, if the person had the thought in their mind for years, can they recover? And how common it is for people to recover from thoughts after having it that long, if they do the right things and start to do the recovery program or recovery system on their own, with me, however. So the answer is yes, you can definitely recover. There is no set time period after which it's like, this is the cutoff time. After this, you cannot recover. Of course you can recover, but you have to do the right things. So by yourself, with somebody else, but you have to disregard the thoughts. In whatever way, theme they present themselves, you have to stop paying attention. If you don't stop paying attention fully, at least cut down how much attention you give the thought. And this depends on the specific type of OCD. For example, in terms of, say, hand washing OCD, if you wash your hands, say, for 15 minutes, see if you can go to 13 minutes, 12 minutes. If it's a mental, like a pure O type of OCD, where all of the stuff is going on in the head, there's not a lot of physical compulsions, then you have to cut down how much you're thinking about it. And say, for example, if you usually spend 10 hours a day thinking about it, see if you can cut down to maximum of 4 hours, and you can time yourself and see, okay, I've done my 4 hours, I'm not thinking about this anymore, this is now OCD, I'm not paying attention to it. At least doing it that way if you can't fully disregard it, because whenever you make these steps forward, either big steps or small steps, you are still showing your mind, either in a big way or in a small way, that these thoughts do not matter. And this reduces the anxiety and improves your overall level of OCD. And as you progress, it's easier for you to keep going because your mind is not giving you as much of an emotional push to do the compulsion. So it gets better the further along you go, but in the beginning, it's just making a choice and going through with that choice. So having said all that, of course you will recover and you can recover, but it won't happen unless you put a lot of effort into it. And this is the thing about OCD that is bad, is that not the whole thing is bad, obviously, but the worst thing I find is that it doesn't stay the same. So if you're not getting better, that means you're getting worse. Because if you're not working on your recovery, you're doing compulsions. And usually compulsions grow in numbers. So you start with one and then it grows more and more and more and sucks you deeper in. So I just want to thank everybody for sending the questions. I put out a video yesterday saying please send your questions, and a lot of people have sent them in. And don't feel shy. We're all in this together, and we're not like naming any names or anything like that. So if you have any questions about your specific situation, I would like to do it like this during the show, because then other people can hear it and can benefit from it, and we're not disclosing any personal details, so nobody's gonna know that it's you. But if you do want me to answer the question privately, I can also do so, and you can email me at info@youhaveocd.com. You can also visit youhaveocd.com for more information. I have ebooks available, a personal private recovery program with me available on there as well. There's a lot of free information there too. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.